Most gardeners spend January staring at frozen ground, flipping through seed catalogs, and waiting for spring while their garden sits completely unproductive for 4 straight months. But there are 11 vegetables you can plant outside right now in January, even in cold climates, that will either survive winter to give you the earliest spring harvest possible or actually grow during winter to provide fresh food when nothing else is available. The problem isn't that your climate is too cold for winter planting. It's that conventional gardening treats winter as a dead season when the reality is that certain vegetables are specifically designed by evolution to handle freezing temperatures, and some actually need cold exposure to germinate properly or produce their best flavor. Here's how to plant 11 vegetables outside in January and turn the coldest month of the year into productive growing time instead of wasted months of waiting. The vegetables fall into 3 distinct groups based on how they interact with winter cold. Group 1 is cold-hardy crops that you plant in January for early spring harvest. These vegetables can survive freezing temperatures as seedlings and will sit dormant through the worst of winter, then explode into growth the moment temperatures rise above 40 degrees, giving you harvest weeks or even months before conventional spring plantings. Group 2 is overwintering crops that you're actually planting now to harvest next fall and winter. These are crops with extremely long growing seasons that need to establish root systems before winter, then grow slowly through cold months to mature the following year. And Group 3 is vegetables that actually require cold stratification, meaning the seeds need to experience freezing temperatures before they'll germinate properly, which makes January planting not just possible, but actually optimal for these specific crops. Here's where most gardeners fail with winter planting, and it has nothing to do with temperature. They plant too shallow, which leaves seeds exposed to freeze-thaw cycles that kill them before they can germinate. They plant in poorly drained soil where winter moisture creates rot instead of supporting growth. They choose the wrong varieties, selecting types bred for heat when they need varieties specifically developed for cold tolerance. And they don't protect emerging seedlings from the most damaging force in winter gardens, which isn't cold. It's wind that desiccates plants and kills them through dehydration even when temperatures stay above freezing. The system works because it follows 3 fundamental laws that govern how plants survive winter. Law 1, cold-hardy plants don't fight freezing. They tolerate it by converting starches to sugars that act as natural antifreeze in their cells, which means the same vegetables that would die at 25 degrees in October can survive 10 degrees in January because they've had time to cold harden and build up protective compounds. Law 2, winter planting succeeds when you plant at the right depth in the right soil. Seeds need to be deep enough to avoid freeze-thaw damage but shallow enough to emerge when conditions warm. And soil needs to drain perfectly because winter moisture is constant and waterlogged soil kills more winter plantings than cold ever does. Law 3, protection matters more than temperature. A simple row cover or cold frame that blocks wind and moderates temperature swings makes the difference between success and failure because it's not the cold that kills winter plantings. It's the rapid temperature fluctuations and desiccating wind. John Seymour understood something that modern gardening has forgotten. Winter isn't the enemy of food production. It's a resource. And when you plant vegetables that are specifically adapted to cold conditions at the right time with the right protection, you eliminate the unproductive gap between fall harvest and spring planting that wastes 4 months of potential growing time every single year. Here are the 11 vegetables you can plant outside in January, organized by group so you understand exactly what each one needs and what it will produce. Group 1, cold-hardy crops for early spring harvest. Vegetable number 1 is spinach. And spinach is probably the most cold-tolerant crop you can grow. Seeds germinate in soil as cold as 35 degrees and seedlings survive temperatures down to 15 degrees once established. Plant spinach seeds in January in well-drained soil, cover with ½ inch of soil and a layer of straw mulch. The seeds will sit dormant through the coldest part of winter, then germinate in late February or early March and give you harvestable spinach 4 to 6 weeks before spring-planted spinach would be ready. Vegetable number 2 is lettuce. Specifically, winter-hardy varieties like Winter Density or Arctic King that are bred for cold tolerance. Lettuce seeds need light to germinate, so plant them shallow, barely covered with soil, and they'll do exactly what spinach does. Wait through deep winter, then grow rapidly when temperatures moderate in late winter, giving you fresh salad greens in March or April. Vegetable number 3 is arugula. Arugula is a brassica that actually tastes better when grown in cold weather because the cold stress increases the peppery compounds that give arugula its distinctive flavor. Plant seeds in January, and arugula will germinate quickly if you get a warm spell, or wait patiently if temperatures stay below freezing, then grow fast in early spring. Vegetable number 4 is peas. Both shelling peas and sugar snap peas are incredibly cold hardy and actually prefer cool growing conditions. Plant pea seeds in January, 2 inches deep to protect them from freeze-thaw cycles, and they'll germinate when soil temperatures reach 40 degrees, which often happens in late winter even when air temperatures are still freezing at night. Early planted peas give you harvests in May instead of June, and they finish before summer heat ruins the crop. Vegetable number 5 is broad beans, also called fava beans. These are traditional winter-planted crops in Europe that can survive temperatures down to 10 degrees once established. Plant broad bean seeds in January, 3 inches deep, and they'll germinate slowly over 4 to 6 weeks, then develop into tough plants that produce heavy yields of protein-rich beans in late spring. Group 2, overwintering crops planted now for next year's harvest. Vegetable number 6 is garlic. And while most gardeners plant garlic in October or November, January planting still works in many climates if the ground isn't frozen solid. Garlic needs cold exposure to form proper bulbs, so January planting gives it the vernalization it requires. Plant cloves 2 inches deep, and they'll establish roots through late winter, then grow through spring and summer to produce harvestable bulbs next July or August. Vegetable number 7 is walking onions. These perennial onions are nearly indestructible and can be planted as sets or divisions in January even in frozen ground because they'll simply wait until conditions improve, then start growing. Walking onions produce green tops you can harvest like scallions within weeks, plus they multiply and spread every year. Vegetable number 8 is rhubarb crowns. January is actually an ideal time to plant bare-root rhubarb crowns because the plants are completely dormant. Plant them in deeply prepared soil with massive amounts of compost, and they'll establish roots through late winter, then send up stalks in spring. Rhubarb planted in January will produce a small harvest the following year and full production within 3 years. Group 3, vegetables requiring cold stratification. Vegetable number 9 is parsnips. Parsnip seeds have a very short viability period and germinate best when exposed to cold, moist conditions for several weeks. January planting means the seeds get natural cold stratification through winter, then germinate in early spring and grow through the entire season to produce sweet, nutty roots by next fall. Vegetable number 10 is salsify. This forgotten root vegetable has similar requirements to parsnips. Seeds need cold stratification to germinate well, and the crop needs a full growing season to develop roots. Plant salsify seeds in January, and you'll harvest in late fall or even leave them in the ground through next winter because salsify flavor improves after frost. Vegetable number 11 is certain varieties of carrots, specifically storage types that need a long, cool growing season. While most carrots are planted in spring, winter-planted carrots that germinate in early spring and grow through cool weather produce sweeter, denser roots than warm season plantings.